笑，滔滔烈共潮，四海英雄聚今朝，苍天笑，拔剑斩红腰，浪沙淘尽怒白霄。整整70年，他把中华人民主义，还让这片土地变得满目疮痍。全世界投毒制造各种生化武器，我去，他答应了人类命运共同体。3代爆料，携手占有新天道，振兴我中华同胞，兴起了灭共浪潮。壮志冲云霄，看那国旗飘飘，烈鸟铁岭河上，神州阳光普照。江山笑，血雨遥，谁负谁生出一份笑，风萧萧，神霄显如潮，盘古开天风潮。3年多的爆料，就是黑压死磕，众望实锤，每天都有一点也不嫌多。以美灭共，以共灭共，还得靠我们战友们行动。电用我中华儿女共建联邦新中国，黑夜显祖国，照亮东方的天。戳破光辉的火焰，我准备了3世多年，越过了死亡幽谷，踏上了灭共之路。纵有太多雄剑，我主啊，只能虚度。清风笑，收归正道，一周他老自逍遥。苍生笑，热血万丈高，仰天长啸志英豪。战友们豪气穿云霄，盘古相聚在今朝。我定报 The one is the save the world, CCP lies, the people's die. We are running out of time. Take down, action. Take down the CCP. Take down, action. Take down the CCP. La 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 CCP 你完了。霸占我们的牧场是谁？夺走我们的牛羊是谁？抹掉我们的语言是谁？剥夺我们的信仰是谁？奴役我们的兄弟是谁？蹂躏我们的金元是谁？让我们母亲流泪是谁？掐灭孩子的希望 大雪把奶酒，让我藐视死亡。跨上马与狂风对话，迎着黄沙我再次出发。无畏的血水战甲滑落，我的伤口是燃烧的太阳。哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦。旗帜在马背上，雄鹰矗立在我肩膀。一生在战场，是我的荣耀。哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，伟大的长生天，我的魂与你同在。我们是的草原真正的主人。哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦。为了孩子稚嫩的脸庞，为父亲眼中的期望，兄弟们站起来反抗，英雄故事必被后代传唱。我们是勇士的民族，过去的血在身上流淌，神圣的母语放声高喊，我还们能赢五四大呀！哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦。旗帜在马背上，雄鹰矗立在我肩膀。一生在战场，是我的荣耀。哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，伟大的长生天，我的魂与你同在。我们是的草原真正的主人。哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦。我们是的草原真正的主人。哦嘿呦，我还们能比五四大呀！共产党掌握着不仅是生化武器，还掌握着非常先进的这个化学武器。生化武器非常容易的扩散，也非常容易的制造，这是极为危险的。那么化学武器，共产党已经拥有了无声无色、很容易释放的化学武器，一定希望各国的政府引起高度重视。新中国联邦和爆料革命将和西方的文明社会站在一起，直到达到消灭共产党那一天为止。
Good evening, Fringers. Welcome to episode 46 of The Fringe. I'm your host, David Vincent Bob. It is Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021. As always, The Fringe comes to you twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on gtv.org at MOS Talk. We thank you very much for joining us this evening. We would like to ask that you please share the information about this program with all of your family and friends and social contacts. We are on Getter now too, which is exciting. Tonight we have a very, very important announcement to make, but before I do that, I would like to introduce my co-host for this evening. She will be joining me this Tuesday and today and Friday for the show, and I'd love to welcome Isla to the show. Thank you so much again, Isla, for joining me this evening for The Fringe.
Thank you so much, David. It's always my honor to come back to the show and co-host with you. David, why don't we get started with the big announcement?
Yeah, so Fringers out there, for those of you that haven't heard or weren't watching GTV the past couple days, our fearless leader, Miles Guo, came out with an announcement that there will be another attack by the CCP, not only on the United States, but on every other country in the world, as they plan on releasing another virus. This one's supposed to be more potent and more deadly than COVID-19. As we already know, there is a Delta virus going around right now that they're saying is more potent from India. It's a version of the virus that was that mutated in India, and as we know, Isla and I have covered this, has killed record amounts of people in India. The CCP is now threatening to release a virus that is targeted only for white people, basically all over the world, if you're of white skin color. So again, Miles Guo came out with an announcement and a warning about this, and that's what we're going to dedicate this whole show to. Isla and I would like to give our thoughts and our insight on all of this and try to really understand and break down and explain to you what's going on. We're going to play this video that Miles announced a couple days ago. We're going to break it up into 3 segments because it's too long to play all at once. It's a little over 11 minutes. So we're going to break it down into 3 segments, and after each segment, Isla and I are going to share our thoughts again and our insight on each portion of this film and or of this video, and let you know where we stand with it and how we feel about it. So let's roll that first segment, please, Chris.
6月20号上午12点前，文贵麦奥斯国在这里呢，郑重的向美国的所有的朋友们和欧洲各地以及世界各地支持爆料革命、支持新中国联邦所有的朋友们，文贵在这里呢向大家发出一个警告，本人不为此做任何担保和承担，只作为参考。为了维护和西方和中国人之间的和平的未来和互相尊重的，以及站在全球人类都是同一类的基础之上，维护世界人类的和平和维护世界人类的安全，不受任何邪恶的势力所威胁所利用。我们爆料革命一直以来向西方和世界传输和传达，以及向西方告知中国共产党对中国人的威胁和对世界的威胁的真相。从过去的海航是一个几万亿的一个公司，每天成长这是2000倍的公司对西方的经济的侵略的证明，和海航原 CEO 王健先生在法国普罗旺斯被杀害，以及海航事实上的真正的控股人中国的副主席王岐山的腐败，以及渤海控股集团对中国人民经济各方面的掠夺的这个事实，包括后来的台湾的郭台铭的选举被共产党的操纵的台湾选举因为我们爆料革命最早的报纸是台湾同胞，包括香港的当时的遣返法的运动和中国共产党要派解放军装扮成香港警察，要进行对香港学习所谓的戒严的公告，以及我们支持香港运动大量的学生和平的抗议，最后帮助很多香港的同胞和共产党的和平抗议。最后我们在 病毒2019年12月份，我们曾经跟西方的政府就谈过这个病毒的可能性。在2019年的6月份的时候，我们就谈过，共产党一定有可能会使用生化武器和化学武器对香港的运动以及对西方的可能性的攻击。从2019年的5月份、6月份、7月份、10月份，我们都做过这样的警告。后来大家发现，从香港运用的所谓的警察的很多催泪武器、所谓治安武器里边含有大量的化学武器的成分，包括对后来香港运动的这个强奸、杀害和黑警察以及共产党的凶残。到最后2020年，我们爆料革命最早的和新中国联邦的所有的同仁们向世界宣布了我们在2020年1月15号法治基金整个直播当中向西方警告了共产党宣布的武汉病毒、冠状病毒所谓的人不传人可控可防的，这是假的。而且我们已经向美国相关政府的部门向尽可能的传输说这是一场生化武器袭击后来我们和班农先生和我们所有的同仁们一起向世界宣布了世界病毒来自于中共武汉实验室的真相，包括死亡真相我们通过中共大量的内部的人士传递的消息，向世界展示了共产党的凶残以及对世界带来的威胁。非常不幸只有美国川普总统采用了我们的信息马上采取了对美国的旅游限制令。虽然美国受到了伤害，但是没有走向巨大的灾难。很多国家相信的国家是受益者，没有相信的受到了巨大的人命和财产和国家安全的伤害。那么当我们回顾过去这几年来爆料和新中国联邦以来，我们向世界上通过各种证据和通过各种媒体，顶着西方被共产党蓝金黄的各种所谓传统媒体和所谓的科技大佬和经济和政治各界的跟共产党勾兑的各种利益集团的打压妖魔化，甚至政治化，甚至用生命做威胁，制止和阻止我们对西方世界关于中国共产党制造的生化武器病毒、香港人类和香港人权的伤害的这些真相的同时，新中国联邦和爆料革命始终坚持着向西方展示和告知和爆料革命的真相，建立中国人在西方之间的和平关系，告知全世界中国共产党不等同于中国人民，共产党不能代表中国人民，共产党的所有行为中国人民是最大伤害者。我们从2017年、18年、19年、2022到2020年到今年，我们是最早告知和世界上关于新疆大屠杀和新疆集中营的一个来自中国的社会的团体。我们最早的向西方和美国政府提供最多的关于新疆的形象，新疆受伤害的真相，而且很多国内的在新疆工作的警察还有部队的内部的战友们冒着生命危险传输出了关于新疆的证据，我们已经提供给相关的部门。我相信这对当时川普总统政府做出了最正确的决定，新疆是大屠杀，共产党是反人类罪，种族大屠杀定罪的关键的原因之一，是因为我们新中国联邦爆料革命，我们以此非常的荣幸得到了西方的认可。
David,
Sorry about that, everyone. So basically, everyone, what Miles Guo is warning you about and informing you about is that there is another virus set to be released upon the world for the destruction of humankind, and it's Miles Guo that is here to save you again and to warn you. And that's what our job is here. It is our responsibility, Isla, to warn these people. It's why we do what we do as whistleblowers. It's why we have this show, to get the word out there to people that might not otherwise know about it. For so long, the CCP have tried to shut down GTV. They try to block our signals, but we still get around it. They're not going to stop us. And that's what they fear the most, is that we have someone like Miles who is exposing the CCP for these atrocities. What I want to ask you first, Isla, to break into this segment, this first part of these three segments we're going to do with these videos, is I'm going to ask you just to give a little bit of the background. I want you to tell us about Miles and how he's so easily able to obtain this information.
Thank you, David. I think, well, for the first segment of the video that we just showed in the program, that Miles had mentioned that a lot of intelligence information that he got was within the Chinese Communist Party. So first of all, even now we see a lot of the whistleblowers are living overseas to, speak against the Chinese Communist Party. We do have a lot of members and a lot of supporters are in the CCP systems, and they are feeding the information to Miles and to the international society about the brutality and potential acts or attacks that would be coming from the CCP. So first of all, I think Miles has a lot of connections within the CCP itself, either from local officials or to the high officials that people like beyond people's expectation or imagination. And second, for people who understand Miles' background when he was still working and living in mainland China, people all know that he built one of the best hotels in China and in the world, and it's Pangu. And this is the place where a lot of CCP officials go held meetings, and they do a lot of underneath transactions in that hotel. So I think what I want to mention right here is that Miles Guo is the best one who has a connection, first of all, and understands the essence of the Chinese Communist Party based on his experience in mainland China. And most importantly, he has the connections on an international level to cooperate with the Western governments, particularly the US government, so that he could pass along all of the information that our supporters within the Chinese Communist Party gather, and to help more people understand the potential attacks from the CCP.
All right, some great background there. So again, people, we are here tonight to send you all a warning that's been initiated by our fearless leader, Miles Guo, that the CCP indeed has created another virus that they plan on unleashing on the world if they haven't already. We tried to warn you before. We did a year ago, like Mr. Guo said, like Miles said during this video in the beginning, that President Trump tried to release this. The thing that was talking about this, and the thing that's craziest about this island, and we've talked about this before, you'll hear me say that a lot tonight, by the way, people, because that's the thing. We've talked about this before, and this isn't something you just say, oh, well, I'm comfortable here in America. This will never touch me, never get to me. We've already been affected by this. The last time this virus made its round through this country only, we'll say just in America, we had 600,000 deaths. People, that's more deaths than Americans who died in World War II. So put that into perspective for a little bit, and then see what you come up with there. You must listen to this warning and heed this warning that we're giving to you right now. We ask that you prepare yourselves for this. But first, we're going to talk a little bit. Again, I want to backtrack here for a minute. And I want to talk about how our administration ignored Donald Trump while he was president, when Dr. Li Mingyang came over here with that information that this virus was lab created. Nobody listened to her, and nobody listened to Trump. And the reason nobody listened to Trump is because they just didn't like him. So, and that's the way that kind of carried over into this administration, Isla, is they didn't want to believe Trump so badly, and they still don't want to believe him so badly, that they're willing to lie to the American people and risk hundreds of thousands, and if not millions more lives, not only in the US, but all over the world, because they refuse to admit that Donald Trump was right. That's the problem right now with this whole thing, Isla, and that's why we need to continue to do what we do again, to spread the word about this to anyone that's willing to listen to us and tell you that what Miles is telling you is the truth. This thing is coming and you need to be ready. So I want to ask you, Isla, what do you think about our government's involvement in this and their willingness to bury this and hide it away just because they don't like somebody? And also, we can even piggyback on that a little bit and talk about Dr. Fauci's role in this entire thing, and possibly, now it hasn't been proven yet, but they're getting close to proven that there's gain of function going on here, that Fauci had a big part to play in this, possibly getting this virus over to, or samples of it over to China, to the Wuhan lab, for them to continue to create what ended up being a virus that basically committed genocide on the world. Just want to kind of get your thoughts and see what you think about government's involvement. Isla, are they as deeply involved as we are assuming they are right now? And what do you think about the way Trump was treated when he was in office and how they're still doing that now?
Well, first of all, I think I'm not I don't want to say who would be better to handle the pandemic, because I felt like ultimately it's CCP's fault to release this virus. But what I want to say is that under the Trump administration, despite a lot of the efforts has been made, but Trump was the one to refuse the meeting with Dr. Li Manyan. So I think that's also one of the reasons that we see that within the past years, we don't see a lot of public appearance by Dr. Yan, particularly in the US TV programs. Fox News had the interviews with Dr. Yan before, and I believe a lot of the India media, the national media in India, has done interview with Dr. Yan as well. But we do need more people to pay attention to what Dr. Yan had said within the past years, and pay attention to the 3 reports that he wrote to reveal the origin and why CCP has a strong involvement, in the design of the virus and in the release of it.
Wait, can I stop you right there? Did you say that Trump refused to have a meeting with Dr. Yan? Is that what happened?
Right. I think Miles mentioned a couple times in his live stream that despite a lot of the efforts had been made under the Trump administration, before the last call, Trump refused to meet Dr. Yan.
Yeah, but Trump definitely was on board with the fact that this was lab created, and that, well, at least he was leaning toward that. And I believe he also was definitely on board with the fact that we needed to get over to Wuhan, at least to check out what was going on over there. And that was not, that was never followed through with by the other parties in our government, because they were calling Trump a xenophobe for wanting to do that, when they clearly knew that this virus was coming from China. It wasn't like we were saying it's coming from China and it wasn't. It was, everybody knew that that's where it came from. Go ahead.
Right, you're right. I think that's the second point that I want to mention, that situations have been changing differently, particularly after the switch and after the shift of the administration. When President Trump was in the office, a lot of the attacks and the reports has to try to discredit the lab origin theory of this virus, because people hate Trump, and so a lot of scientists had to pick a side. Think about the recent news of Alina Chang. I think it's one of the scientists from Harvard University. She publicly announced that she had to be silent, or she had to trying to move away from the lab origin theory that she believed in before, because she doesn't want to pick a side, and because of all of those left or right issues. But I think right after the G7 summit, we do see a clear stance from the current administration as well, at least on a surface level. All of the countries that attended the G7 summit agreed to that we need a thorough and clear investigation of the origin of this virus, and it's definitely related to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Again, I don't want to say left or right, or Biden or Trump, but what we need right now is that we do need people pay attention to the links and relationship between the Chinese Communist Party and this virus. Right after Miles sent out all of the alerts, I think what we've seen over the past 4 years is that every time he sent out the alerts, CCP always followed up with the attacks. And either it's a cyber attack, virus attack, or economic attack. So I think what we need to do, and why are we having this program right now, is we want more people to pay attention to those alerts. David.
Yeah, you made some great points there, Alan. Something you got me thinking about now is the first part of these 3 segments we're going to show you people. We're trying to establish the fact that what Miles Guo is trying to tell you is truth. That's, and we preached 3 words here on the Fringe: is truth, integrity, and commitment. And truth is at the top of the list. There's no reason for Miles Guo to come on and tell you everything that's been going on with the CCP just to scare you. There's no reason for him to do that whatsoever. The guy doesn't need to do that. He's doing it because he cares about human life. That's what he's all about. And he wants to take down the CCP because he's been over there in China. He's seen a brother die in Tiananmen Square. He's been through it all. He knows what this party's all about. So again, we're showing you why you need to believe what we're telling you right now. And first of all, we're setting this up for you by showing you the first segment. The first part of this is the things that Miles has done, and we, as whistleblowers for the new federal state of China, had done to warn you about what's going on. One of the things Miles said toward the end of the first segment there was also another way to verify and to justify why we do what we do is he brought up Xinjiang and the Uyghurs, which is very close to my heart. I remember my good friend Prince, the first time he ever told me about the Uyghurs, it was maybe 2 years ago, was the first time I ever heard about this. He said, do you know about the Uyghurs in Xinjiang? I'm like, what are Uyghurs? Where's Xinjiang? That's what I said to him. And then he sat down, we had dinner, and he explained it to me. And I was shocked. And that was one of the main reasons I got involved with the whistleblower movement, is because so many people, Isla, don't know about this. And that's kind of why we want to share this with people, too, because they don't know. And there's a lot of people out there that are the same way. Not saying everyone. I know there's people that are and actually people are becoming more aware about what's going on in China. There are people that are very aware right now, but there's a lot of people out there. And I learned this through my dealings with the whistleblower movement and being on the streets protesting, that there are a lot of people that don't even know what the letters CCP mean, the Chinese Communist Party. So it is I consider it my responsibility and my duty to share that information with as many people as I can. But getting back to the Uyghurs, all this does really is verify that we do have a soul and we are telling you the truth, because everything we've told you, Miles is setting up the rest of this discussion that he had and this breaking news that he wanted to warn you about, with telling you the validity and his background with this whistleblower movement and what he's done and what he's shown you and proven to you time and time again, that what he says is truth, and it comes true. It's the fact that the mainstream media and big tech don't want to hear it, because everybody in America is so hung up on cancel culture, BLM, Antifa, woke movement, wokeism, and everything else, that if you say anything about any other country that's negative, you are a xenophobe, which is what happened to Trump. But everything that Miles said has come true also, Isla. And one of those things being that now, again, like you said with the G7 summit, that's great that they all came to an agreement that they need to talk about and discuss what's going on over in China and approach this with a more diligent effort, which is what they plan on doing. But again, the point is, anything that Miles has said up to this point has 100% come true. And we talked about, since the first episode of The Fringe, about the genocide of the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. For those of you that don't know, the Uyghurs are a Muslim group that live in the western region in the mountains of Xinjiang in China. And these people are being held in these reconditioning camps that we've all come to discover actually are concentration camps, and they're reconditioning them to forget their religion and to go with the way of the CCP, which is no freedoms at all, no freedom of speech, no freedom of religion. They dictate what they do every single day of their lives. They rape the women in these prisons. They force them to have abortions, and they sterilize the men. That's just a few things that's happening with these people in Xinjiang, these Uyghurs, which is awful. And that, again, is something that Miles talked about. We talked about on the Fringe since episode 1, and nobody listened. They didn't want to listen because they were too concerned about themselves. And now here we are again. And all of a sudden, thank God, after all this time at least, and I think with the diligence of former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo under the Trump administration and his diligence, people are really starting to wake up to what's happening in Xinjiang also with the Uyghurs, Isla. And I think that, too, is another testament as to why people need to listen to and pay attention to Miles Guo.
Right, David. I would like to share 2 comments made by our fellow Fringers in the live stream.
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So one of our supporters wrote, I think it's not about which side of the political spectrum you're with. Virus doesn't choose a side. Beautifully said. And the other comment that we received that for the record, he's here referred to Miles's first warning has been proven all correct. Sadly, it was ignored by most of the people.
That's right.
And that's basically the fact, and that's the situation that we face. That's also the challenges that posing ahead of us. And I think particularly on the Xinjiang issues that we have to say, a lot of Chinese people, particularly for Uyghurs, have to say a huge thank you and express their gratitude to particularly former Secretary Mike Pompeo. He's the one to designate the genocide and to announce the decisions by the U.S. State Department. So I think all of the Miles has also mentioned in the first segment of his video that a lot of the evidence, a lot of the things that we offer, that the whistleblowers movement and the new federal state of China offered to the U.S. government concerning the Xinjiang situation, all of the forced labors, the brutality of the CCP towards the Uyghur people. We are a huge, sources of all of those evidence of the CCP's evil acts. So that's why he wants to empathize the credibility that the whistleblowers movement and the new federal state of China already has in the international society. And that's why I think people really need to pay attention to the alerts. Over the past 4 years, we have seen so many alerts sent out by him. In 2017, Mao said, the darkness is already in the United States.
That's right.
So, the videos, all of the alerts that we see today almost sounds like, for me, it sounds so similar to what we see, to what we have heard in the past 4 years. So I don't know, David, I felt a strong concern about what would happen in the future. I'm not sure how do you see the similarity of the alerts that we've heard before, and how do you compare those alerts to the ones that we hear today?
Well, I mean, if you're us, then you got to take it, for what it is, and it's that it's the truth. And unfortunately, what's crazy is I watch the news and I see how everybody just wants to take their masks off and get vaccinated and go out. I mean, we can talk about vaccines for the next hour or two. That's not really what we're here tonight to talk about, but it might pop up from time to time. But it's very, very concerning to me. And it's right now, it's this moment right here, Isla, and I'm thinking about this, that I just wish, we had a bigger platform. We had a way we could get this out there to more people. We're trying our best here, people, to tell you what's going on and to warn you about this. But it would be this moment right now, Isla, that I would love to be cast out by satellite and to millions of people all over the world, instead of just to a handful that we hit here on GTV and hope to get out there further. But again, people, if you're watching, please share this broadcast, especially if you're going to share any of the 46 episodes of The Fringe. Please share this one with as many people as you can. Put the warning out there. Let people know this is coming. And that's kind of where I want to stand with that right now, Isla. I think we need to move on to the second part of this segment, and we can backtrack a little bit and talk about things from the first segment, but we need to move on here. We just wanted to verify and validate everything that Miles is saying for those of you that maybe are joining us for the first time or aren't that familiar with GTV and The Fringe. And also, I like what Isla did there, and she kind of was looking at the comments and commenting, yeah, people, if you have something you like, this is kind of a different episode for us. It's not straightforward news. We're breaking information to you that you need to hear. So if you have any questions for us, we'll try to see if we can get to you and answer them tonight. We'll also look at your comments and we'll read them back if we have time. See something that really stands out that we want to talk about. All of your comments are definitely appreciated, and we definitely appreciate your patronage and joining us tonight. So please try to get involved with us. Yeah, we'll be checking out the comments, definitely. But let's roll the second segment of the 3 segments we have ready. This is the second. This is part 2, I call it, of the warning of Mr. Miles Guo to the entire world of the CCP unleashing another round of biological warfare on the entire world.
我们始终坚持着对西方的爆料微针不破，坚持用真实数据、亲身经历，让西方知道中共的对反人类罪一次又一次的试图领导控制世界，以及不在乎全世界人类的安全，而达到自己控制世界的目的的各种手段的真相。那么今天我在此呢，非常荣幸的在2021年6月20号上午，向全世界的同胞们，我再次发出所有的警告。在发出警告之前，我再次重申，中国共产党所有的行为都不代表中国人民。共产党是在中共国，这在中国现在的中国是一个非法组织，特别是它已经被美国政府定为新疆大屠杀、反人类罪，以及在香港的所谓的反潜法、国安法撕毁国际合约，而且大量的谋害、杀害香港的学生，包括对台湾的蠢蠢欲动的威胁和试图的发动的战争，以及在中国南海撕毁国际条约，以及对西藏和国内同胞的大伤害之后，我们再次重申，我们是以中国人民真正的历史和文明向西方发出，我们是同类，我们永远不会以西方为敌。中国人不会永远，过去也没有过侵略和侵占西方任何国家一个领土，我们永远也不会。所以今天的所有的我的对此的公告，代表着和平的中国人民。只有一少部分不超过200个中国共产党的家庭是中国的权力经济的垄断者，他们是谋害西方国家，欲领导和霸占西方的资源，以及释放病毒可能发生另外事件和我今天公告事件的罪魁祸首。现在最核心的，我要告诉大家，我们获得准确的情报。第一条，共产党正在试图在未来可能今年的夏天和秋天交接之际，要在美国和欧洲西方再次释放冠状病毒，而且这次释放的病毒的危险性一定比上一次还高。我们有准确的情报，我们得知共产党非常的清楚，西方的G7集团会议之后，全世界人民由于几百万人的死亡，数以亿计人感染上病毒，全世界的各界要求获得真相的同时，共产党已经很清楚，真相最终是会被查出来的。政治勾兑和政治收买和威胁已经可能起不到作用，他们只有2个选择：一个，当西方真的要接近真相的时候，他们要侵占台湾。所以现在他们做出了一系列的军事和政治上的部署，内部的会议清楚的决定，只要是西方用大量的经济制裁，甚至在发动战争威胁的情况下，共产党就要把这个生化武器用尽用绝。用中共的最高领导人话说，既然这个武器是为美国人和白人研究的，我们就应该把它送到美国去。我们在印度使用的非常成功，我们应该在美国、在欧洲让它更加的成功，而且应该无所顾忌。既然要用，就要用到敌人怕，用到让敌人恐惧。这样的决策，共产党在过去都干过。希望西方的所有的精英们在看到和听到这个信息的时候，你们能做好预防和防护。同时，最高层决定在病毒释放之后，当世界上关注病毒真相的时候，共产党没办法解决的时候，发动战争，收复台湾，让全世界的关注点 全部关注在台湾事情上，而不去谈论病毒，让中国和世界西方国家进入一个战争状态。进入战争状态以后，用战争的国际关系，所谓的战争最终都是用政治和经济做交换来达到解决的，用战争转移视线掩盖掉共产党制造病毒的真相，通过战争跟西方之间达到和谈，最后包括病毒真相的追究责任的结果。那么现在中共国已经在做什么呢？这是今天郭文贵本人代表新中国联邦和爆料革命，向全世界爱好和平的西方友人，你们要注意，在过去的4周内，所有在美国的在香港的30几万的美国定居的人士，和在大陆的18万的到22万的定居人士，正在被共产党用国家安全委员会派出了数以千人进行统计，进行上手段，也就是将这些美国在中国的公民和在香港的公民，所有的电脑、手机和联络方式进行国家安全定位化，并且大量的核实这些美国在华在港的这些信息，包括欧洲、欧联盟日本、西方这些国家，也就是 G7 集团和未来可能和共产党追求真相，或者说和共产党发动台湾战争能参与到这场战争的国家的公民，在中国进行登记跟踪已经进入准战争化。这是由中共国最高领导层的国家安全委员会一致做出的决定。这和当年的伊拉克战争和利比亚战争，以及过去这70年来西方发动的各种战争之前的这些国家的准备是一模一样的。
Ooh, well, there's a lot to break down from that segment. Now we know that there's not just a virus that's getting released on targeting white people, but also Europeans. Obviously, there's a lot of white people that live in Europe. Want to get your thoughts on this. There's a lot to talk about here. We can break this down however you like. But we do, one of the shocking things about this is they plan on going to war, to an actual physical war with Taiwan. So we participate in that because we've already said, Blinken has already said that if China attacks Taiwan, the U.S. will get involved. And they're going to use this to divert our attention away from the virus and to Taiwan. There's so much to unravel here, Isla. Just go ahead and I'd love to hear what you have to say about all this.
Right. Thank you, David. I think you've been pointing out correctly about the direction that Miles had mentioned in the second part of the video. So first of all, CCP understands that the Taiwan can't be a diversion for people's attention. That they understand that right after the G7 summit, the West is asking for the answer of the coronavirus. And they also understand that once they get the truth, they knew that it was Chinese Communist Party virus. So it will be a dead end for them if they cooperate with the investigation, or if all of the truth, or there are more virologists like Dr. Lehman and who fled to the US to expose the truth. So they want to use Taiwan to change the direction, or they want to use Taiwan as something that they can negotiate with the West to regain their power, or to regain a chance of negotiating with the West. So another thing is that if not Taiwan, then another new wave of coronavirus would be released, or would be unleashed by the Chinese Communist Party, probably around the end of the summer or at the beginning of the fall, which is very close. Think about it, people. We're reaching almost the end of June right now. So it's not far away from the time if we took the reference of what Miles has mentioned in the video. So all of those things that proves, I think, one, the pressure within the Chinese Communist Party is extremely high. they understand very well about the international situation that they are facing right now, and they understand that it's going to be a dead end for them because of the coronavirus. And like what Miles had mentioned, and probably in the last sentence that he said, we are under the state of undeclared war by the Chinese Communist Party.
That's right.
And according to Dr. Li Menyan's paperwork before, the coronavirus is already defined as an unrestricted biological warfare. And think about the future of Taiwan. A lot of problems are set up, in the near future, not even for next year, in the next couple months. So these are the things that we have to face. It's very hard to say what would be the next month like. But the only thing is that people do need to pay attention to all of the alerts. And I'm very curious about how the U.S. governments or the country that attend the G7 summit, their reactions on the warnings that Miles sent earlier on. So David, I would like to ask you, how do you understand the undeclared war, the situation that we are facing right now? And particularly, Miles had mentioned that the CCP has registered and kept tracking on all of the U.S. citizens who lived in Hong Kong and lived in mainland China, and of those, along with the other citizens of the country that included in the G7 summit. So how do you see all of the CCP's pre-act moves, under the undeclared war situation?
Well, I can tell you this: I don't want to see any of it happen. Obviously, this is one of the reasons we need to act now, Isla, is because if we ignore this, it's going to happen. You can't just say, well, maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong, I don't know. But we've already proven in the first segment that everything he said, everything that Miles Guo has said to you has happened. You need to listen to this man. And as far as my thoughts on everything, especially with Taiwan, first time I saw this video with Miles, my eyes were this wide, and then I'd hear more and they get wider and wider until they were like saucers. I couldn't believe how much one thing compounded upon the other. It's not just that they're going to release another virus, another coronavirus that's even more destructive than the last one. It's that they're going to go to war with Taiwan to divert our attention away from that. They're going to keep tabs on all the Americans that are in China and other countries that could possibly support Taiwan during this war and target them. So they're threatening our own citizens, not only through biological warfare, but through physical warfare. And that's the craziest part about all of this, is if we don't listen to this, it's going to happen. So, but people at the same time are thinking, well, if we do this, maybe, we're going to be thought of in bad terms, like we're xenophobes or we're bad people for wanting to attack China or the CCP, because we're not really 100% certain they're going to do this. Well, you weren't 100% certain last year that what President Trump was trying to warn you of and what Dr. Li Menyan warned you of, and because you didn't listen to that and you listened to the mainstream media, hundreds of millions of people got infected and 600,000 only in America died, and there's millions all over the world that died. So to me, I wouldn't be willing to take that chance again, Isla. You listen to the man, you follow through with it. I think the rest of the world, luckily, is starting, like you said, with the G7 summit, is starting to wake up to the fact that something needs to be done. We cannot not hold the CCP accountable any longer for this. We have to hold them accountable for what happened. And even if it's through, they said that there's no way we could prove they did it physically because there's no evidence, there's no solid evidence, because the lab's been cleaned up by now, everything's been burned and put away and nobody knows anything. But there's too many other coincidences and there's too many other facts of surrounding what happened. Like, for instance, they released the virus in China and wouldn't let people travel within the country, but let people travel overseas when they knew they were carrying this virus with them. There's all kinds of proof that points the finger at them and says, even if they weren't, we can't prove 100% certainty by saying, yes, we found this in your lab. There's so many other things that happened, mitigating circumstances surrounding it that would prove them guilty. So we need to hold them accountable. And again, I'd like to just go down here like we were doing earlier. Sorry, I was looking away from you there for a minute, but it's a friend of ours, actually, Star Wars, posted something here. And it's kind of goes along with what we're saying here. And I like what he has to say. And the first thing he says is, judging from what the U.S. government officials at all levels are doing and promoting, I'm very concerned about how seriously they will take Miles' warning this time. History might repeat itself. History could repeat itself, and we can make the same mistake. Yeah, and I agree with Star Wars 100% there, because that's where we're at. We're at the precipice there, Isla. If we get this word out to the people that need to hear it, number one, are they going to believe us? And if they do, number two, what action are they going to take? You can go one way or the other. And unfortunately, Isla, I don't want to sit back and watch this thing destroy hundreds of millions of lives again and kill millions of people before it's too late. What do we do, Isla? What do we do? We're sharing, we're trying to spread the word, we're sharing it with everybody, but maybe we should say that to the end. What do we do? Let me backtrack on that question. Let me ask you another one. We'll give our insight on what we think we should do or what we should have people do to help us spread the word about this. But I want to get your thoughts on kind of throw this one back at you. Targeting only white people. That's really insane. And I want to ask you, why do you think they're targeting only white people, the CCP?
I think it's almost kind of like a CCP tradition for me. For a lot of people who lived in mainland China, we have seen a lot of the propaganda from the Chinese Communist Party to try to exaggerate the conflicts between Chinese people and the citizens of the United States, and they're trying to promote that democracy is bad, freedom is bad. Look, all things who got controlled in China, but a lot of things went out of control in the States, and that's what the ideologies were feeded, in mainland China before. So I'm not sure exactly why the CCP targets particularly on white people, but think about the virus. It doesn't matter about the skin of the color of your skin. It doesn't really matter of your citizenship or nationality. People all get infected by COVID. Think about the data that we have. Every time when we talk about COVID cases, I would like to share the data that we have.
Oh yeah, you have data. I know you have data. Yep.
Yep. So this week we have 179 million cases of COVID-19 on a global scale, and that was 3 million cases more compared to what we have for the last week. So think about still the speed of getting infected for the new cases are very, very fast. And we don't see any improvement of the vaccines. And in fact, the Chinese Communist Party is trying to push a lot of Chinese citizens to get vaccinated. But we still see regional lockdowns. We still see India got attacked. And so people are trying to get relaxed, just like what David mentioned earlier on, that people are slowly ignoring the side effects of the vaccines, or slowly ignoring the potential harm of the COVID-19. And currently, we still see the U.S. government's promoting people to get vaccinated to go over the pandemic. But think about that, if we are going to have another wave of the coronavirus, maybe a stronger wave or a stronger variant of this virus, are the vaccines would function, would protect our citizens right here? Or is there any other thing that we can do, like what you asked to people, or for people who believe in this movement and believe in what Miles said in the videos? I think we are all curious about what we can do to protect ourselves and protect our families, because this is the human nature. We all want to survive through this pandemic. And if we don't listen to those alerts, if we don't listen to the whistleblowers movement, we wouldn't get enough information of how to protect ourselves, David.
Yeah, we don't want to cause a panic either, Isla, and we certainly will be sharing with people what we think they should do. I mean, I think you should start preparing. Just to give you a little bit of a just give you a little rub here on what to do. I would start saving up a little bit on masks. Start social distancing again. This thing's coming. Stock up on some food. Just kind of get ready. If we do this piecemeal until maybe the end of August, to when this is supposed to happen again, people will be prepared. We obviously don't want to cause a panic, but we at the same time want people to know about this and want them to be prepared. One of the things I wanted to say, though, that you brought up, and I didn't think about this until you started talking about it, Isla, and we started talking about how the CCP is targeting white people. I want you to think about this. Think about this right now. What's happening in America to white people? There's white people saying that they are apologizing for what they've done in the past to black people, slave owners, saying, we're really sorry about slavery. You're right. We owe you reparations. I see more white people supporting Black Lives Matter than black people. The problem in America right now is there's a push against white supremacy again. And this occurred because of the insurrection, which it wasn't. We all know that by now. What happened at the Capitol, and the Democrat left, their willingness and their tenacity to continue to push this narrative that all of a sudden, because this happened, all white people, and these are white people in our government that are saying this, that our number one problem, besides global warming, what are they calling it now? Climate change. The number one problem in our country, besides climate change, is white supremacy. And think about how that plays into what you just said, Isla, and how the CCP is targeting white people. We're not making it any easier in America, are we, Isla, by targeting in our own country white people, saying that we owe reparations to black people and to whoever else. Even the LGBT community, I don't know if you knew this or not, is saying that we owe reparations to them when we give them more rights than we have ourselves, which is crazy. The whole thing's insane. But my point is that it's the CCP playing right into how Americans are treating themselves right now. And I've said this before in past episodes. We are weak from the inside, and that makes us very, very vulnerable from the outside. And that's something to think about too, Isla. They're targeting white people right now in America and in Europe. And we have our own country, our own citizens targeting white people. So what are you doing, people? Opening the door to the CCP to kill us all, right? Is that what you want? Because that's what you're doing.
Right, David. I think we surely have a lot to talk about why CCP is particularly targeting the white people, and how the U.S. is currently under such an awkward position that a lot of people still doesn't realize the threats and the potential attacks that from the Communist Party. So I would like to roll the video just to give people to have a full glimpse of what Miles had mentioned in the alerts. So let's roll that video again, please, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, this will be the last of the
请
three.
西方的所有的同类们，请你们记住，共产党的对粮食的囤积和战备物质的囤积，我想你们比我都知道，战备和粮食的囤积，以及现在大量的这个外汇的囤积，包括在东南亚、新加坡、马来西亚、泰国这些附近的国家。正在准备战略物质，而且正在一些敏感的地区部署着战略的武器，特别是长距离和中距离的导弹系统。而且中共现在已经准备好了，海军宁可是1000:1的比例，要和美军和日军进行自杀式的战争。这些准备包括天空中对国际所有的卫星天上卫星的所有的战争状态已经准备就绪。更要警告西方同仁的事情，共产党掌握的不仅是生化武器，还掌握着非常先进的这个化学武器。每个普通百姓谈到生化武器的时候，都以为生化武器非常的难的控制，或者非常难的释放。这个冠状病毒已经告诉了世界人民， 生化武器非常容易的扩散，也非常容易的制造，这是极为危险的。那么化学武器，很多人以为只有导弹或载体才能是送达到所谓的目标区，这是错误的。共产党已经拥有了无声无色、很容易释放的化学武器，而且这些生化武器和化学武器大多来自于美国的生化武器和化学武器的技术，这对全世界是危险的。共产党在对西方的这些 G7 国家所有的水源和电力设施，以及重要的自然风口控制区，都已经布置了和有计划的化学袭击的这种手段。所以，当全世界要追究共产党冠状病毒真相的时候，把共产党的化学武器的袭击和生化武器的再次的袭击，以及对在中国的各国公民的安全和绑架，一定希望各国的政府引起高度重视。这就是今天郭文贵告知西方所有的同类和支持新中国联邦爆料革命的正义人士所有掌握的中国内部的信息。我希望这一切都不要发生，但是我们的希望总是在共产党那里得到的是都是相反的结果。共产党从来不会考虑人类的安全和人性的价值，他们永远不相信和平和善良是对他们来讲是有任何价值的。他们只相信暴力，他只相信武力，只相信欺骗。那么西方世界已经在过去给了中国共产党70年的近100年的机会，让他给中国人民带来民主、法治、自由和世界带来和平。中英关于香港的协议和中美关系 WTO 和中欧关系、贸易关系、科技关系，用过去的70年和100年的历史是最好的答案。任何在对中共有希望勾兑还有合作，或者认为他还能代表中国人民的，你们将为此付出代价。因为共产党已经用事实和冠状病毒和香港和台湾和新疆和西藏给了你最好的答案。任何心存幻想都可能是造成你不可挽回的损失，那是巨大的犯罪。新中国联邦和爆料革命将永远任何情况下都不会妥协，都不会恐惧，将和西方的文明社会站在一起，直到达到消灭共产党那一天为止。以上是郭文贵对西方再次发出的警告，希望不要再回到2017年10月份我在华盛顿那个新闻记者招待会一样，我说出的话以后被成为笑话，然后用过去的4年来证明都是对的。我在这一次希望能引起高度的重视，我不希望你们相信，但我希望你们去调查。Don't trust me, but go to verify. Thank you very much.
So Isla, I really admire the way Miles wrapped this up, and he ended it the way that he started it. And it was to warn us what was coming and to say to us, if you don't believe me, that's fine. You know, he didn't expect you to believe him. He doesn't expect everyone to believe him. All he asked is that you verify it. We need to hold the CCP accountable. We already know that the virus originally came from Wuhan, and there's a lot that was said in that third segment there. And a lot of it is stuff that we know that our fellow fringers out there who are watching the show the first time or haven't followed us or don't speak Mandarin and aren't able to follow GTV and see what we offer every week. But there was a lot of warnings there. And the most important being that he's warned us before and we didn't listen, and look what happened. And I always think back to what would have happened, Isla, if we would have just listened, or we did, but if the rest of the world would have just listened to Dr. Li Mingyan when she came over here, we could have saved millions of lives, hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions of infections, and which are still going on today, near apocalyptic destruction of the country of India, which we just saw, and that virus has made its way over here also, the Delta virus, the Delta variant of the virus. So much could have been resolved. So many lives could have been saved if they would have listened the first time. Are they going to listen this time, Isla?
Right. I think the credibility has actually shifted over for the past 4 years, because we have using the, particularly speaking, that Miles has used the past 4 years to verify all of the things that for all of the alerts that he sent in 2017. So I think right now what we see, all of the alerts that people are maybe get terrified of what Miles had mentioned, because he mentioned that the CCP has lots of bioweapons and chemical weapons that are ready to be unleashed. And they have also prepared for all kinds of the wars against the international society, against the West. Think about the satellites, the sky, marine, and soldiers as well. It seemed to me that the CCP had a full plan before the regime falls down. They had a full plan to, take a chance and try to drag whoever they could to the hell with them as well. So I think it's very important for us to notice the alerts at first, and second, to see all of the things that the whistleblowers movement and the new federal state China had approved to correct in the past 4 years, and look over the past videos of what Miles had said and had alerted not only for the whistleblowers outside the Chinese Communist Party, but also for mainland Chinese people, for people who are inside the CCP system. I think at the current point, it is not only us who are curious or wondering about what we should do in the near future. I think for all of the CCP official members, for people who are still working for the Chinese Communist Party, if they see those alerts, if they see this video, they would also be very curious about how should they work and how should they survive going through the pandemic. A lot of their family members are overseas, are living overseas at least, and they have to deal with all of the pressures that the CCP had posed to the international society, and they have to face all of the potential sanctions that probably would be involved by their family members as well. So I think these are all of the questions and extreme pressure that are posing on the CCP, on the party, the regime itself. So it's not only us. I think for the Chinese Communist Party, for all of the officials who are still working and believing in this regime, they all have to question about the meaning and about the future of their career as well. You still have a chance, to offer any valuable information about the CCP's acts or about the coronavirus itself. And I think all of the international societies, the Western countries, would be very willing to work with anyone who had those internal intelligence. David.
Yeah, that's a great point. Unfortunately, I don't know. The way I see it, Isla, is if you were conditioned and raised and had the CCP pounded in your head and you're a spy and you're covert and you're over here doing what you're doing, are they really going to just stop now what they're doing? You gotta complete the mission, and the mission is to take over the world, and that's what they want to do. So. That's a great plea to, I think, I would say the same thing. If you're out there, if you have any involvement with the CCP and you can uncover and help to take down this regime with any inside information you might have, like Miles does, we certainly would appreciate that. But I don't see them lining up at the door to do that. They've come too far. When your mind is completely brainwashed by the CCP and your end game is total dominance, I don't think they're going to stop. That's what they want to do, and that's where they're going to go with it. What I'd like to do is just recap kind of what we're talking about here, and it's Miles Guo delivered a warning to the entire world that the CCP plans on releasing another coronavirus at the end of August, beginning of September timeframe. And if you don't believe it, there's probably some on the way right now with that Delta variant already here. And 10%, I think, I don't know if you knew this or not, Isla, but 10% of the coronavirus cases right now are the Delta variant. Maybe that was the one Miles is talking about. Maybe there's another one. Who knows? But it's here and it's already happening. That is anyway. An interesting thing I think that I picked up from that third part was the fact that Miles was talking about something very interesting. Was he was talking about how we as a nation need to come together and again, he's asking people to just at least look into it, not to, and I said this at the beginning, not to, you don't even have to believe him, but just verify what he's saying, and then you will believe him. See, that's the point of all that, and it's a very smart move by Miles to present it that way. I guess what I could do is just, I do what I can. Like I said, on this show, we do what we can. GTV, the whistleblower movement, G News, the new federal state of China. We all do what we can and it's our responsibility, it's our duty to be diligent and get the word out there. So again, if you want, people want to go back and watch the video again, watch it all the way through on gtv.org. Just look for Miles Guo, and it's the most popular video out there right now. Him warning the entire world of the impending doom set upon us by the Chinese Communist Party. And if you think we're not at war now, we are. We are in, as Isla said, this is a biological war that's going on right now. They're going to turn it into a physical war against Taiwan to divert our attention away from the biological warfare that's going on. The thing about the CCP, if you understand how they work, is they're all about the Benjamins. They're all about the money. So they figured out, wow, we can kill millions of people just using an odorless, colorless liquid, and they plan on putting it into the water, into the air. They feel like they can kill that many people doing something that simple. Why spend a whole bunch of their money on tanks and bombs and weapons when they can just use this chemical or something they create in a lab to do it? That's how twisted these people are. It saves them money, and they kill a lot more people a lot quicker. You have to think about all that stuff, people, and heed what we're saying. Heed the warning that Miles Guo is telling you, and listen to us when we're telling you. I am an American citizen. I've never seen anything like this, and every time Miles says something, it comes true. You need to listen, please. Again, share tonight's episode with as many people as you can. Get the warning out there. We're not trying to cause a panic, but we need to verify. We need our governments of all over the world, those people that are humanitarians, at least, please investigate this. Do not let the CCP get away with this any longer. We are at a time in our history where we're looking at the desecration of mankind because we're allowing this communist Chinese party to do whatever they want and not holding them accountable. And before you know it, folks, you won't be around anymore, and your children won't have any lives to look forward to because their end game is to wipe out humanity and take over the world. And that's it in a nutshell. And that's the warning you've been given. It's the second time Miles has warned you. You didn't listen the first time, and this time is going to make it even worse. Isla, do you have any closing statements you'd like to give before we depart this evening?
Thank you, David. I think, first of all, understanding the threats and the potential harm that it could be brought by the Chinese Communist Party is the ultimate important thing that we need to do for every whistleblower and for people who are outside this movement. And second, please do take care of your family and yourself in facing of the COVID-19 pandemic. This pandemic is far more likely to come back for another wave of coronavirus, particularly in the fall and in the winter. So please don't get ignored by the messages that you saw, and please follow Dr. Yan on Twitter or on other platforms and listen to her advice and pay attention to what she had said to protect yourself and your family. Because I think, like what our supporters said in the comments, virus just doesn't choose a side. So it's really not about what kind of political spectrum that you are with. It's about human lives as well. So last but not least, I think GTV, G News, these are the platforms that we are frequently use to get information, to get what Miles had passed along, all of the things in his live stream videos. So if you're curious about the things that we do, please download GTV, download G News, and follow us to see what kind of updated or latest information that we have. Up to this moment, I think we need to have more people paying attention to what the whistleblowers movement and the new federal state of China have been working on. And we surely want people not to believe us in firsthand, but go to verify all of the things we say. Thank you, David.
That's right. Great way to end it there. And real quick, I just wanted to throw this in there. I told you I'd talk about the vaccines real quick in the end. Basically, I think the general thought is, hey, I'll have the vaccine. And I've heard experts in virology say, hey, if you get this vaccine, it'll don't worry about the other ones that are coming along. It'll just pass you by, and it'll get those people that basically, if you don't get the vaccine, you're going to die with the next wave that's coming through. I don't believe that, first of all. I believe, yeah, you'll die from the virus, but I don't think the vaccines is what's going to save you. So don't think that just because you're vaccinated that the virus is going to skip by you and go to the next guy. It's not how it works. It's a virus that was created in a lab. Therefore, you cannot create a vaccine for it. This is all a money grab for all those pharmaceuticals out there. And their propaganda is so rich right now on the news media that it sounds like you're in China watching CCTV's propaganda when you hear our own doctors talk about the necessity for this. If this thing is so safe, why are you forcing us? If this thing is so safe, why are people dying from it? And why are you forcing people to take it? If they don't need to take it. You don't need to take this vaccine. It's propaganda, all of it. And I take the hydroxychloroquine and the zinc, and I'll take my chances. And that's the way I feel about that. But again, fringers out there, please heed, take warning. Don't go out and panic. Please don't do that. But just be diligent, be vigilant. Start collecting things here and there. Start piling up things a little bit. So you don't get in the middle of the mad rush and you're not able to get your toilet paper this time. But be diligent, be safe, and please, God be with you. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I'm David Vincent Bob for Isla here at the Fringe. We thank you for being with us this evening. Again, we are on every Tuesday and Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. on gtv.org at MOS Talk, and Isla and I will be back this Friday. Until then, please be safe, be free, and God bless you and your families. Thank you very much for your patronage. Have a good night.
他们的恐惧是我们的武器，我们的胜利。谢谢了，兄弟姐妹们，你们健身了吗？行动，行动，行动！中共，你完了 ！Take down the CCP！
But the games you want to play, bring it on and I will fight to the end. Just watch and see. It's all started, everything's begun, and you are over, 'cause we're taking down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all life for too long. We will end what they do wrong. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. Let's take down the CCP. Let the bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little little longer.
你完了，
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
中共，你完了，干灭中国共产党这个 CCP， 还能让我们远离恐惧。Take down CCP。
They try to scare the nation with fabrication, but we see through the lies. We won't fall, we will fight you back. Police corruption with crooked assumption. They ran our lives, but no more. We will win. We will take down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all lied for too long. We will end what they do wrong. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. Let's take down the CCP. Let the bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. We will have freedom to live. We will win. You surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. Let the bullets fly a little longer.
站起来吧，
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
站起来吧，
Let the bullets fly a little
被
longer.
奴役的人
Let
们，
the bullets fly a little longer.
行动，
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
行动，
Let the bullets fly a little
你
longer.
完了
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
，Take down CCP。
Bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. We will have freedom to live. We will win. You surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down the evil CCP.